Hey there, my friends and fellow watch lovers. Today, I'm going to review a watch I've been wearing for quite a while now. And the important thing is, this is a watch that almost every publication and almost every reviewer has crowned as one of the champions of our time. Of course, it's another piece that made it into my personal top 10 favorite dive watches of the year 2021. And honestly, it's not just me. If you follow reviews regularly, especially from overseas, you've probably seen this model sitting at the top of the charts so often that it feels familiar already. So, what makes this watch earn that kind of recognition? Let's take a look. The watch I'm talking about is the Tudor Black Bay, and the version I picked up, the one I'm reviewing today, is the Black Bay Steel. To be real with you, the name Tudor Black Bay has been in my head for a long time, but the standard models usually come with an anodized aluminum bezel insert, what we call colored aluminum film. Now, that does give off a heritage vibe. It feels traditional and classic, but in my personal opinion, when you actually use it, it's just a little too prone to scratches. And once it gets scratched, the watch doesn't look as good. It feels like it has a flaw. That's why I held off buying one until the year 2020 when Tudor released a version with a steel bezel. And more importantly, they made it in 41mm, which fits my wrist perfectly. After a long hesitation, I finally pulled the trigger. Everyone knows the Black Bay is one of the most talked about watches out there. So once I got it and started using it, how did I feel? Let me tell you. First, for those who don't know the history of Tudor, I've already made a separate video about that. You can check the link. The official name of the watch I'm reviewing today is the Tudor Heritage Black Bay Steel, reference number M79730-0005. The one I bought comes on a leather strap. I chose that because, after watching a lot of international reviews, I noticed people often comment that the faux rivet bracelet doesn't look that great. And I agree, so I went with leather instead. The case size is 41mm, and that's pretty much what you get when measured. The lug-to-lug distance is 50.2mm, and the thickness measured from the top of the domed crystal is right at 15mm. The lug width is 22mm, tapering down to 20mm at the clasp. Up front, you get a domed sapphire crystal that, when viewed from the side, looks like a box sapphire rising up. It's a straightforward crystal with no anti-reflective coating on either the inside or the outside, very much in line with Rolex's style. And for those of you who've followed the history I've shared before, you'll know that Tudor and Rolex are sister brands produced in the same factory. The crown is screwed down, engraved with the Tudor rose, the brand's original logo, in keeping with the Heritage series. It's oversized, about 8mm, with a black ring underneath that makes it easier to grip and turn. The feeling when you unscrew the crown is incredibly premium, and winding the movement gives off the same high-end vibe. It really speaks to the quality of the caliber inside. If this were an entry-level watch, I probably wouldn't be too concerned about details like this. But once you're talking about a premium piece, especially in the range above $3,000 US, these little things become a true measure of craftsmanship. And in this area, Tudor absolutely delivers. It's no surprise since they're produced in the same factory as Rolex. Just turning the crown, you immediately feel the difference. The same goes for the bezel action. When you rotate it, it feels smooth, solid, and precise. The mechanism has a satisfying resistance that makes it stand out. Honestly, it sets the benchmark for watches in the $3,000 category. The bezel insert is brushed stainless steel, true to the name Black Bay Steel. The minute markers are engraved in Arabic numerals 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50, and each numeral is filled in black, giving it a sharp, legible look that matches the overall rugged character of the watch. The lume pip is a triangle framed in stainless steel with the inside filled in red. The engraving on the bezel is crisp and refined, exactly what you'd expect from a factory that also produces Rolex. The case itself might look simple at first glance, but when you see it up close, you realize the finishing is far superior to what you'd find on mid-tier watches. The top of the lugs are brushed, and this brushed finish is a hallmark of Rolex design. It has that extra level of refinement that's hard to explain but easy to feel. The polished bevels along the lug edges are straight, sharp, and precise, clearly different from lower-tier watches. Even the cut lines in the metal around the lugs are cleaner than average. For me, Rolex-style cases give off a minimalist vibe, not overly complicated in decoration, but every detail of the finishing is executed with precision. Tudor follows the same philosophy. Take a look at the macro shot of the bezel notches. I'll capture it up close for you. In that macro view, you can clearly see the consistency of the grooves. The polishing and finishing quality is truly outstanding, a level of craftsmanship that stands above what you'd normally expect. Flip the watch over and you'll find a screw-down solid case back. It looks minimal, but it carries a sense of strength and refinement. Inside beats the Tudor caliber MT5612, an in-house movement running at 4 Hz or 28,800 vibrations per hour with a 70-hour power reserve. Some might say, that's not unusual. Plenty of entry-level watches now have 70 to 80 hours of reserve. But the difference here is that this movement maintains 70 hours while still running at 4 Hz. For comparison, the ETA 2824 normally offers only 42 hours. When modified to run at 3 Hz or 21,600 vibrations per hour, it can stretch to 70 or 80 hours. So you can see, just dropping the frequency from 4 Hz to 3 Hz nearly doubles the reserve. Imagine if this Tudor movement was slowed down, it would have enormous reserve. But it's not just the power reserve that impresses. The features are excellent. Chronometer certification, a silicone balance spring that resists magnetic fields, and most importantly, a free-sprung balance wheel, what Tudor calls variable inertia balance. This uses micro-adjustment screws to regulate accuracy, allowing the movement to maintain precision far longer than a standard balance wheel. Rolex has used this system for years, which is why their watches hold accuracy better over time compared to ordinary movements. Beyond that, the specs are what you'd expect from a high-grade caliber. 26 jewels, a bidirectional rotor, hacking seconds, manual winding, and an instant date change at midnight. All in all, it's a movement that delivers both durability and refinement, perfectly in line with Tudor's reputation. Alright, let's move on to the dial. This watch uses a standard 3-hand layout with a date window at 3 o'clock. The date is displayed in black text on a white background. The dial itself is matte black, and when you look closely, you can see a fine texture across the surface. At 12 o'clock, you'll find the Tudor Shield logo along with the words Tudor and Geneva, all printed in silver. At 6 o'clock, there's red text indicating water resistance to 200 meters, followed by 2 more lines in silver stating that the watch is officially chronometer certified. Around the outer edge, the minute indices are also printed in silver. The hour markers are applied very much in the style of a submariner, and they're filled with luminous material. The hands are loomed as well, with the hour hand in Tudor's signature snowflake shape instantly recognizable as a Tudor design. The seconds hand also carries the snowflake motif, while the minute hand is baton-shaped. The finishing on the hands and markers is excellent, exactly what you'd expect from a factory that also produces Rolex. In fact, the quality is nearly identical to Rolex, with the main difference being materials. For example, the silver-colored hands on this Tudor are stainless steel, whereas Rolex would use white gold, which doesn't tarnish over time. That's why Rolex hands stay bright indefinitely. Tudor, on the other hand, follows Hans Wilsdorf's founding vision to deliver Rolex-level quality but at a more accessible price, achieved by using simpler materials and slightly reduced specifications. Now, let's look at the strap. The leather strap has a refined look with a subtle grain pattern. The inside is lined with a suede-like material, making it feel soft and comfortable against the wrist. At first, I thought I'd swap it out for something else, but after trying a few different straps, I realized this one was designed to match the watch perfectly. The finishing is excellent, and for a watch in this price range, the strap quality is more than respectable. The real highlight, though, is the clasp. It's a solid deployment clasp, shaped with the Tudor shield logo. I think it looks stylish and adds a nice touch of character. The clasp itself is brushed, contrasting with the polished double lock mechanism, and it's laser engraved with the Tudor name. In use, the clasp feels premium, far better than what you'd find on most watches in this category. The reason is that Tudor uses ceramic ball bearings in the mechanism. That makes locking and unlocking smoother, and it also reduces wear over time. Even after years of use, it will hold up better than a standard clasp. Alright, I think we've covered the specs, so let's talk about the pros and cons. Pros. First, the craftsmanship. The moment you see it, you can tell it's on a different level compared to ordinary watches. I'll be making a comparison video soon, putting this Tudor side by side with other watches in different price ranges, so stay tuned for that. Second, the movement. Normally, I'm not someone who automatically praises an in-house caliber. If a brand just says in-house without adding anything special, I'd honestly prefer an ETA. But this watch gives you a free sprung balance wheel, a silicone hairspring, and a 70-hour power reserve. Those features make it feel truly advanced and worth the price. Third, the design. That's the strength of the Black Bay Heritage line. It's what made the collection explode in popularity worldwide. Fourth, the premium feel in everyday use. Whether you're winding the crown, unscrewing it, turning the bezel, or locking and unlocking the clasp, everything feels refined and solid, far above watches in lower tiers. Cons. Now, you might think I'm so impressed that there couldn't possibly be any downsides, but there are. First, the thickness. Some of you might say, why not just buy the 58? It's under 12mm thick. And yes, the 58 slim profile is part of its charm. But for me, the 39mm case size was the deal breaker. My wrist is fairly large, so 39mm feels too small. Plus, the lack of a date complication was another factor that pushed me toward the 41mm version. Second, the crystal. There's no anti-reflective coating at all. Honestly, even a bit of internal coating would have been nice. Rolex has always been conservative about AR, arguing that it reduces the lifespan of the crystal. That's true to an extent, but internal coating is very resistant to scratches. In fact, Rolex eventually gave in to criticism and started adding internal AR, but this Heritage Black Bay still doesn't have it. Final verdict. I give this watch 9.7 out of 10. That's the highest score I've ever given. Beyond the excellent feel in daily use, almost every reviewer out there has placed this watch in the benchmark category, one that's hard to rival in today's market. For me, it's not the absolute best in case or dial finishing. In this price range, I actually prefer the dial finishing from Breitling. But when you look at the whole package, the feel, the movement, the design, the overall impression is that this Tudor Heritage Black Bay steel is a watch that's nearly impossible to beat in its era. If you already own one, or if you've watched this review and have thoughts, drop a comment below. And if you enjoy straightforward, experience-based content like this, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, or share the channel. Every subscription really helps us out.